and welcome to the Philly Factor. I'm your host, Paul Perello. It's my pleasure to welcome to the program. First time I think I've done a television interview with him is the New York Times bestselling author, Emmy nominee, Brad Meltzer. For 25 years, Brad has unearthed government secrets. He's the one no one wants to face because perhaps we're not ready to hear the truth. And I was thinking before the interview, they say, what's the old saying that sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction? And Brad has managed to get to the bottom of many of these bizarre stories that are out there. And they're, for Brad's sake, they're not as bizarre or as crazy you might think. Brad, thanks for being with us.
I love the fact. In fact, I need to mention that you are one of the few people who interviewed me for my very first book. And now this is 25 years later for the newest book. So there's only like 5 people that I can count, and you are one of them. So thank you for having me back.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I'm so glad to be doing it. Your new book is The Lightning Rod. And the one thing that when I first met Brad, as he said 25 years ago with his first book, is the attention to detail that he pays when he's writing. Now, I'm not saying that other authors don't pay attention to detail, but I mean, when Brad dives into a topic or a subject, I mean, he dives in. I mean, he has gone underground at Disney World into the tunnels there where very few people get to go. He's been in or under the Capitol building. He is the favorite author of 2 U.S. presidents. Not too bad. I mean, all things considered, you sort of made quite the name for yourself, Brad.
I am trying, I have one thing that I rely on, Paul, and that is I'm not that special. And if I think something is cool or interesting, then I know I'm not that special. There are going to be others who also think the same. So when someone says, hey, you want to know where the underground tunnels are below the White House? Yes, I want to know that. Or as you said, the secret labyrinth below the U.S. Capitol building. I want to go there. And for 25 years, I've just been nice enough that people have taken me to see some really cool things.
Now, your new book, The Lightning Rod, gives us a different perspective, I guess, given the events of the past 2 years where we've all been holed up in quarantine or, isolating at home, and we really haven't been able to experience life as we were accustomed to. Your new book sort of gets into some of the areas where, the U.S. stockpile, it's one of those phrases that we hear and we wonder, okay, what do they mean by the U.S. stockpile? But it's this, and it's scattered across the country. There are these warehouses that are pretty nondescript, and you're not going to make a turn off of a road and there it is. But these warehouses are the home for many of the things to prepare the country against chemical or let's say biological warfare. And perhaps if we knew COVID was coming, they might have been able to stockpile the antidote for COVID in these warehouses.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I found out there are about a dozen top secret warehouses hidden all across the country to deal just with what you said, bioterror attacks, whether it's smallpox, whether it's anthrax, whether it's hantavirus, you name it. They have the antidote for it. They have cobra venom in there. God knows what they need that for. And it's like a Costco for the end of the world. Giant warehouses hidden right in front of your face. You won't even believe where they are. And the idea is that if there's an attack in New York, in Texas, in California, in Philadelphia, anywhere in between, that within hours, they will have what they call a push package of antidotes on your doorstep. And I said, you're telling me the government has secret warehouses hidden all across the country. Nobody can go inside. Nobody knows what's in there. I want to go inside there. And I was lucky enough to be able to go inside because when I started researching the lightning rod, it was 5 years ago. And 5 years ago, no one cared about these places. The Strategic National Stockpile, the SNS is what they call it. No one cared about it. It was just a footnote, an asterisk in the government. And I said, can I go in? They were like, yeah, come to the headquarters. We'll show you the command center where we run all the warehouses from. It was fantastic. And then the pandemic happened. And this became one of the most important places in the entire US government. That's where the original ventilators came from. Of course, masks and other things. There's burn victim stuff. There's antibiotics. There's everything you can name in this giant warehouse. And I was obsessed with it. So when you're reading the lightning rod, The final scene of the book, it's a murder mystery. It's a whodunit. You're trying to figure out who the killer is. But the final scene of the book takes place in one of these warehouses when you reveal who the final killer is. And what you see in that warehouse, I didn't make up. What you see in those final chapters, that's what's really in there.
When you go into a building like that, when you go into a warehouse like that, uh, part of me would be like, I would be so overwhelmed from what I see in front of me. How do you sort of digest all that information? Because you're getting a snapshot, you're getting a look at a place that not many people get a chance to see. But how do you digest all that and sort of bank it in your brain that when you get out and you sit down to write, you leave no detail uncovered? I mean, how do you do this?
Yeah, no, the place that I went, I didn't even go into the warehouse. I went into the headquarters. That's the command center for all of them. Mm-hmm. And I remember being in there, and they were nice enough, and they said, I can take notes there, but I can't remember every single thing that's in there. So a lot of it was calling people back, asking them again, double checking, and finding the very few articles that were written about it to really, really narrow it down. The truth is, it's patient people. I've worked on these books now for 25 years. The Secret Service has helped me, I think, for about 20 years now. They've helped me with almost a dozen books at this point. And why do they help me? Why does someone tell you their secrets, whether it's here in the SNS or in the Secret Service or in the CIA or FBI or wherever you may want to go? And the Secret Service is the best example I can give you, because they will say to me, listen, Brad, we're going to tell you something about the government right now. You can't tell anybody. You can't write this part, but you need to understand it so we can tell you this part, which you can write about. And for 20 years now, working with them, I'm a man of my word. I don't break my word. If they say don't write about it, I don't write about it. And I like to think that that's why the people at the SNS helped me. They knew that I was going to be a man of my word. You'll see what you see in the warehouse is all real, but the security protocols to get in there, I changed them. I always change the security protocols. But once you get inside there, that's real. And what you see right when you walk in is real. The giant flag that's like the size of a football field that's hanging from the ceiling, that's real. And it just takes, for me, sometimes it takes scribbling down right there. And sometimes it not there, of course, in the command center, but there were places that let me take photographs. And I use a ton of photo references where I can then go back and be like, oh, yeah. The funny thing is, though, Paul, is when I did my very first book 25 years ago, and I knew this is kind of the best example for a start, is the character walks up to the Supreme Court. He counts the 44 steps to go up to the top of the Supreme Court. And my editor said to me, I just read the opening scene. We love the scene. We're proofing it. It's the final proof. I just have one question to ask you, Brad. I said, what is it? They said, when he gets to the front door of the Supreme Court, does the door push or pull? And I called up my source at the Supreme Court and I said, I got to ask you a question. Does it push or pull? He goes, let me call you right back. And he ran down and checked to see that we got it right. I can't to this moment even tell you what it was, but we made sure it was right. And I think from those beginnings, I realized that, 99% of people will never know whether I get it right or not. But the 1% that does, that's who I'm always trying to impress. That's who I want to make sure that those people read it and go, who the heck did Brad Meltzer speak to?
Sure. Now, when you went on this journey to write this book, and you said, it's been over the course of the past 5 years, when you started this process, no one heard of COVID. And then all of a sudden this hits the headlines. You as the author sitting there writing your book, how do you sort of balance reality? Does that influence you as you're sitting there, perhaps putting the finishing touches on your book, knowing everything that you know, but yet also with this backdrop of what's going on in the world?
Oh, I had to. I remember when I was reading it, as I was writing the book, my wife said, and COVID hit, my wife said, this is you. I called up my source. I'm like, this thing that's happening now, this is you guys. Are like, this is us. So when you read the lightning rod, you'll see COVID references in there. I felt like I couldn't ignore it. I had to put them in because people are going to go like, wait, are these the ones that had the ventilators? These are the ones that should have had, if there was a vaccine at the time? Yes, this is exactly where it would be. And my research always veers as I find new things out. I went to one of my people who works in one of the used to work in the high level security agencies in the country. And I said to him, I want to do a scene where a character sends a secret message to another character, but you and I, we can't send secret emails to each other anymore because everyone can read our email. And he said to me, you're absolutely right. The moment you hit send on an email, I don't care if you send it via Signal, or if you send it by a WhatsApp, or however you send it, the moment you hit send and that thing goes into cyberspace, anyone with a good de-encryption program can crack that email.
Wow.
So he said, so here's what you're going to do. I want you to get a Hotmail account, Brad. He said, open the Hotmail account. I want you to write me an email, but don't hit send on the email. Instead, hit save drafts. And now give me the login to that email. I'm going to log into your email. I'm going to open up the save drafts folder. I'm going to read what you wrote to me. I'm going to erase it. I'm going to write you something back. I'm not going to hit send either. I'm going to hit save draft. And then you can go in and see what I wrote. And now you and I are having a conversation back and forth. Neither of us has sent a single word into cyberspace. And it's a great idea until General David Petraeus, the former head of the CIA, used that idea that's in our book, The Lightning Rod, to cheat on his wife with his mistress. And the news broke it as I was writing the book. I called my friend. I said, that's the idea you gave me. He's like, I know. He just used it. I'm like, you got to give me a better idea. So I switched the scene. And what you see in the book, when you read it, I won't ruin it, but when you read what happens in Lightning Rod, how they communicate, I didn't make it up. That was given to me by someone who used to work in the government. And so there's lots of times where something in the headlines just breaks and you just, as a writer, have to kind of take the right turn.
The tendency is to think that with all this, exclusive or classified information that you're either seeing or you're privy to, do you worry about ramifications or repercussions from perhaps revealing some of that stuff? And even though it's a work of fiction, a lot of it is based in reality. Do you worry that it may raise, I'm sure it has raised more than a few eyebrows, with government officials? Yeah,
listen, I'm every thriller writer is paranoid by nature. My job is to take any situation and show you the worst case version of it. I'm a thrill at parties. Ask my kids, right? But I went to the Secret Service when I did my very first book, Paul. And it was the first book they ever helped me with. It was a book about the White House. We did the secret tunnels below the White House. We did all the great stuff about the White House. And I gave them the book. And I said, if there's anything you're uncomfortable with, let me know, because I want to make sure I do this right. But I want to make sure, I don't reveal any government secrets that shouldn't be revealed. And this was right after, as 9/11 was happening. And I got the book back and they made no changes. I said, are you sure? This is all the stuff in there. And they said to me, Brad, if you can figure this out from your home office, do you really think that a terrorist organization with millions of dollars at their beck and call can't do the exact same? And what they were really saying to me was, you know what, Brad, you're not that good. And the truth is obviously I have some really amazing things in there, but the things that really are vital, the security scenarios, how you get through security, what the security protocols are, I always change those. Because listen, we're trying to obviously give you a good book to read, but not at the risk of national security.
Sure.
And I take that very seriously. Of course I do. But anyone who has a Google account or access to Google can find out that these places, they'll tell you where they exist. They'll tell you what's inside, and no one knows where they exist. I know where they exist. I know where a lot of these warehouses are. You won't see it in the book. I changed that location. So anything that really, to me, affects people's lives, I always go to the side of caution. If it's for entertainment and it's out there in the public sphere that you can find it on Google, I'm going to show it to you. You just didn't know it existed. All I'm doing is showing you something you never knew was around.
But we're talking about your new book, The Lightning Rod. This is at the conclusion of what has been a very extensive book tour for you. And following you on social media, I know that people were turning out en masse for the chance to be in the room with you. And I'm not talking, like 4x6 room, but, pretty big gathering spaces where people came out to see and hear Brad Meltzer. And it probably was the first time, I don't even know the last time that you came through Philadelphia and we sat down and talked. It was well before the pandemic, but the pandemic hits and then everything shifts, everything changes. You still have to write books, you still have to do publicity for it, but the whole publicity train has to pivot. That was the big word that sort of came out of the pandemic. But it seemed to me that when you were out on your book tour over the past few weeks and months, people came out and they really enjoyed seeing and hearing from you. What was your impression when you saw these people turn out for your book tour?
Yeah, the truth was I was in shock. I didn't know, none of us knew what we were getting into. We planned this tour before the new year, and then Omicron hit. And as you saw, people got, it was a whole new world. Things got canceled. Suddenly cancellations were happening. And we're like, are we going through this again? And here our book came out, we're in March and April. And all these other authors, best-selling authors around the country, were kind of emailing me and jokingly and saying, we're going to see if you survive this, Brad, and then we're going to decide if we're doing our book tour. I was the canary in the coal mine. I was the first author that was really going out and doing a public tour. I had no idea who was going to come. I had no idea how it was going to be. And I will tell you, like most of us, I think my introverted side had come out more in COVID, just from being home and being locked down for so long. But going and seeing people again and seeing readers, it was incredible. People were so excited to be out again, simply to be out and with other people. There was an energy we never had before that we haven't had for years. We had at every stop, there was, obviously you saw the big ones. There were some small ones too. Like even the smallest one we had, I remember there was one stop, a really nice one in Cleveland, Ohio. And in my very first book signing of all time, years ago, it was 25 years ago, I was in Dallas, Texas. It was like the third or fourth or fifth signing I've ever done. No family in Dallas, so nobody's there, right? Your first events, your family comes, your friends come. I don't know anyone in Dallas. So there's a dozen people there if I'm lucky, 10 people if I'm lucky. The last 6 people in line were there. They drove 4 hours from Oklahoma to Dallas because they wanted to meet me. I didn't know who they were. I'm like, who drives 4 hours to meet an unknown author that's barely put a book out 4 days ago? And the other thing I can hear, because it's so quiet, there's nobody in the line, I overhear them saying that they have no money, that they came in for the autograph and then they were leaving because they couldn't even afford to pay for dinner here in Dallas. They were going to drive home 4 hours back. And I said, this guy's going to drive 8 hours. And plus I said, listen, when they got to the front of the line, I said, I'm taking you for dinner. Just when this is done, let me take you to dinner. And they were like, are you kidding? I said, no, I'm going to do that. Let's do it together. They seem like nice people. They seem like people that were just good types. And as I'm walking out of the book signing, one of my publishers, one of the employees from the publishers there, they were spying on me to make sure I didn't screw it up, is what I thought at the time. And they said, where are you going? I said, I'm taking these readers to dinner. And they said, you can't do that. They're going to kill you. They're going to murder you and leave your body on the side of the road. And I said, no, they're nice people. Trust me. They said, well, now we got to come make sure you don't die. So they came with me to dinner. They fought with me over the check to pay for dinner. The publisher paid for dinner. And I go to this event just a couple of weeks ago in Cleveland, Ohio. And this guy says to me, I've been supporting you, Brad, for 25 years now. That's why I bought a copy of The Lightning Rod. I said, that's really nice. They said, no, I've really been supporting you because 25 years ago, you bought me dinner in Dallas, Texas.
Wow.
And that guy 25 years later wanted to come out and just shake my hand again and say, thank you for doing that all those years ago. And that energy you can't recreate. I think people were so excited to kind of have the pandemic be over and done, and just be out and about again. And that was, as a writer, who spends all of his days, the most of them, really alone talking to my imaginary friends, it was so rewarding. It was spectacular.
I know recently that someone close to you passed away. I believe she was your first literary agent, and I think in reading online, this woman was the person who really put the fire underneath you. I mean, she told you what you needed to do. She told you that, hey, this isn't good, this is good. But I guess if it wasn't for her advice, we wouldn't be having this conversation, because we always look back, and hindsight is always 2020. But she was the one that really believed in you, that really said, you can do this, and this is what you need to do in order to be successful. I know she just recently passed away, so my condolences to you, because I know you were close with her. But it's people like that really make a difference. Not only if you're an author, if you're a broadcaster, whatever it is that you do, people like that who really support you really can make all the difference in your life.
Yeah, you're talking about Jill Neerum, my literary agent for my entire career. And you're the first person, Paul, to ask me about her. She just passed away, as you know, a couple of days ago. And she changed my life. She was the first person to say yes. And I should tell you that in life, it sometimes just takes one person to change your life, one person to say yes. And our job is to track that person down and find them. Jill Neerum was mine. And at the Neerum Williams agency, her agency that she had, my first book that she took in got 24 rejection letters. There were only 20 publishers. I got 24 rejection letters. And at that moment, she should have said, you know what? It's nice knowing you, kid. I was a 24-year-old kid when she met me. She should have said, it's nice knowing you. Sorry the book didn't work out. I'm going to take a tax write-off on these photocopies that we made and have a nice life. And instead, she said to me, I like your writing. Let's see what the next book you have is. That sounds good. I'll stick with you. And she stuck with me. And that book became The 10th Justice, which was the first book that was published, the first book I met you for.
Sure.
And she changed my life. And for all those years, she found me as a 24-year-old boy and had me until I was a 52-year-old man. And my mom passed away 14 years ago yesterday. But in those 14 years, I still had Jill Nierum. And I sit here today by her good graces, and was one of the most amazing, inspiring, never complained, always had a twinkle in her eye, as my wife said about her just recently. And it's a huge loss. And when you lose these people in your lives, they deserve to be remembered, and they deserve to always be. You shouldn't get over it quickly. I used to think when my parents died, I got to get over it. I got to get over it. And what I realized is when someone who touches you deep to your core, when you lose them in your life, you never get over it. And you're not supposed to get over it. What you do is you transform. You become something different. And Jill Nierum is going to force me to transform.
Which leads me to wonder then, that 24, 25-year-old kid back in the day, he probably had no idea that he would be a New York Times bestselling author, nominated for an Emmy for his children's book series that has now been turned into a series on PBS. I mean, did you ever realize back then that all of this was in front of you?
No, listen, I still can't believe it, and I'm living it. I can't. I mean, I'm the first in my family to go to a 4-year college in my immediate family. It's not, I couldn't have possibly anticipated all of this nonsense. But the thing is I was too stupid and naive for anyone to tell me I couldn't do it. And that's the best way to approach life. Why, if not, why not you? Why not you? Whatever your dream is, I don't care what it is. The one thing I learned, Paul, after all these years, I got 24 rejection letters. I got 24 people who told me to give it up, that I should never do this. It would never be possible. And I don't look back on that experience and say, well, I was right and they were wrong and haha on them. That's a pig-headed way to look at it. What I look back on and realize is life is completely subjective. And whatever it is you choose to do with your life, whether you're the interviewer or the interviewee, whether you're writing novels or you have an amazing radio show that millions of people have listened to, whether you're a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, stay-at-home mom, whatever you do, don't let anyone tell you no. Don't let anyone tell you no. That is the only way for your dream to find it, is you got to chase it. And all I knew was I got to chase that dream. I wanted to be a published writer. I wanted to write. And I didn't even think about what do we do in the book. So I didn't know any of that. I just wanted to finish the book and say I sold it. I didn't know what that entailed. I didn't think about marketing. I didn't think about sales. I didn't think about a bestseller list. I didn't even know the bestseller list existed when I was writing my book. My family didn't have the bestseller. We didn't know what that was. I just wanted to get this book out there in the universe. And it was that tiny goal. And for me, of course, to this moment can't believe that I still get paid to talk to my imaginary friends.
We're short on time. Time always flies when I'm talking with my good friend Brad Meltzer. But in the with this book behind you now, what's next? I know you still have the series of children's books that you're working on. The television show is still on PBS. What's next for you?
Yeah, so as you said, we do. I happen to have one here. We do a line of kids books with Chris Eliopoulos. The Ordinary People Change the World series. We did I Am Abraham Lincoln. I Am Amelia Earhart. I Am Muhammad Ali. There's our newest one. I Am Malala Yousafzai. So the next books that come out next month. We're doing I Am John Lewis. No, that's after. We're doing I Am Dolly Parton is next. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I Am Dolly Parton comes out next in June, along with I Am Pei, the famous architect. So I Am Dolly Parton comes out in June. We're very excited for that. And then we're doing in January, I do a line of nonfiction books with Josh Mensch. We've done The First Conspiracy, about the secret plot to kill George Washington, The Lincoln Conspiracy, about a real life plot to kill Abraham Lincoln that nobody's heard of. So the new one is called The Nazi Conspiracy. It's about a secret plot to kill FDR, Stalin, and Winston Churchill, all at the height of World War II. It is an incredible story, a triple assassination attempt by the Nazis. The Nazi Conspiracy comes out January 2023. Then we'll have the paperback at some point of the lightning rod, and I think then I'm going to take a nap.
Well, at least a nap. I mean, I think you deserve at least a nap. But it's always great to catch up with you. And the fact of the matter is, the Lightning Rod is out. It's available in bookstores. This is a book that if you it's a book that stands on its own. I mean, you may be familiar with Brad's work, you may not be familiar with Brad's work, but you can pick it up, and it's not like one of these other books where you have to read the book before it in order to sort of catch up on where this book is. It stands alone by itself. It's getting critical praise and acclaim, and I can't think of a better author to sort of peel the curtain back a little bit and let us see yet again what's out there. And sometimes it could be staring us right in the face.
Well, I appreciate it, Paul. And as I said at the start, thank you for supporting me for 25 years now. I stand here also because of friends like you.
Well, I do appreciate it. And again, The Lightning Rod by Brad Meltzer is now available in bookstores. And I want to thank New York Times bestselling author Brad Meltzer for being with us here on the program. Brad, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, sir.
Until the next time, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for being with us on the Philly Factor. My name's Paul Perello. We'll catch you the next time around.